Good evening. Here is the world news from BGI TV, Babarbagede Imo TV. I am Morire Rebila Lawal. First are the major headlines for the world news. FG writes Governor Umahi accuses him of stealing World Bank donated relief fund. Buhari dragged to court over silent arrest, intimidation of Obi. Aisha Buhari admits Buhari suffered from PTSD after Biafra civil war. Still on the world news, Ngige has turned Asuu strike to personal quarrel, says Jega. Gunmen kidnap ex-military officer's brother in Plateau. World Teachers' Day, parents lament poor teaching conditions. And in foreign, Ethiopian government bans visa on arrival for Nigerians. And in sports, Asuu inks 4 new players for invitation ahead of Super Eagles friendlies. Now the news in detail. The federal government has called the attention of Governor David Umahi to the World Bank's move to shut down its project implementation agencies in Ebonyi. In a letter from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, dated August 31st and seen by People's Gazette, the presidency referred to a report from the World Bank which details its plans. The World Bank told the Ebonyi government that the decision was taken following allegations such as the non-payment of counterpart funds and failure to start a COVID-19 elevation scheme, among its others. I am to convey the modest compliment of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and I have the honor to draw your Excellency's attention to a report which revealed plans by the World Bank's project implementation agencies to shut down their offices in Ebonyi State. The letter said the decision is sequel to the alleged non-payment of counterpart funds as well as misappropriation of funds of donor agencies by officials assigned by the state government, among these other sundry reasons. Mr. Umahi did not reply to the Gazette's request for comment on the fraud allegation. The letter dated August 31st, 2022, received on September 1st, 2022, was signed by David Atta, a director at the SDF's office, on behalf of Boss Mustafa. Moving on to the next story. It's coming from the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. On Wednesday said it is suing the Muhammad Buhari administration and the Nigerian Police Force, NPF, over a report of intimidation and attacks on supporters of the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi. Politics Nigeria report that SERAP made it known via its verified Twitter handle. This newspaper had reported that Obi condemned the alleged arrest and intimidation of his supporters, also known as obedience. In a tweet thread on Tuesday, the former Anambra State governor described as disturbing and commendable and condemnable, the recent report that some security agencies silently arrested some obedience. He added that elections would not be free and fair when some groups intimidate their opposition, but during campaigns and at the polls. We are seeing the Buhari administration and Nigerian Police Force over a report of intimidation and attacks on supporters of the Labour Party and presidential candidate in some parts of the country. Everyone has a right to participation and assembly, SERAP said in a statement. Moving on to the next story. The president's wife disclosed that Buhari suffered post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, for many years due to his involvement in Nigeria's civil war, his overthrow as military head of state, and subsequent detention for 40 months without being charged with any offense. She disclosed this while speaking at an event for the Armed Forces Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Center, AFPTSDC, initiated by the Mrs. Loki Irabo-led Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association, DEPOA. She recounted how she suffered the consequences of PTSD at an early stage in her marriage to Buhari. According to Aisha Buhari, it is a reality that soldiers and military families have to live with it despite its negative consequences. Being a soldier's wife or a retired soldier's wife and a wellness expert, I understand the challenges associated with PTSD and its impact on military families and the nation. My husband served the Nigerian army for 27 years before he was overthrown in a coup d'etat. He fought civil war for 30 months without rehabilitation. He ruled Nigeria for 20 months and was detained for 40 months without disclosing the nature of his offense. 1 year after he came out from detention, we were married. I clocked 19 years in his house as his wife legitimately. I suffered the consequences of PTSD because having gone through all this and at the age of 19 to handle somebody who was a former head of state and commander-in-chief of Nigeria's armed forces to tell him that he is wrong is the first mistake you will make. Moving on to Asuu issue. Ngige, former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Enoch, says Chris Ngige, Minister of Labour and Employment, has turned the industrial action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Asuu, into a personal quarrel. Speaking on Tuesday during the program on Arise TV, Ngige said Ngige is creating more problems than solutions. Unfortunately, right now, the Minister of Labour is not helping matters. He has turned this into a personal quarrel between him and the Minister of Education on one hand, and between himself and the Academic Staff Union of Academics of Universities, Asuu, on the other hand, Ngige said. While many other people are trying to find a way of addressing this situation so that students can go back to school and Asuu can go back to work, he is busy creating challenges. He now took the matter to industrial court today. He now registered 2 unions and is trying to proscribe Asuu. If this is allowed by this government, I think this is a recipe for disaster, and it may really create more problems than it can solve on this matter of strike in the universities of Nigeria. And to the next story from Plateau State, gunmen on Wednesday kidnapped a popular community leader, Gershon Lex, who is an elder brother to a retired military officer in the locality. Air Vice Marshal Lex retired. Some residents of the Ngige community who spoke to Jos on Wednesday lamented the kidnap of the community leader, saying they had reported the ugly development to security agents. One of the residents, Matthew Chai, told our correspondent that the retired military officer's brother was at his compound in the Ngige community when the kidnappers stormed the village around 10 p.m. on Monday night and took him away to an unknown destination while scaring residents with gunshots. Chai said, "We have not seen the man since he was taken away by gunmen. His name is Mr. Gershon Lex. The man is into farming and other businesses, and is the elder brother to Air Vice Marshal Lex." The incident happened on Monday night around 10 p.m. The kidnappers who came were many because they spread themselves across the village and released several gunshots before they went away with their targets. In case you're just joining, you are watching the World News from BGI TV. The next story is on celebration as regards the World Teachers Day today. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world in celebrating World Teachers Day, some parents in Asuu have called on the state government to make conditions of teachers and teaching conducive in both public and private schools. They also called on the concerned authorities to recruit qualified teachers into schools to ensure smooth impartation of knowledge to children, since they are the leaders of the future. The theme for the year 2022 World Teachers Day, the transformation of education, begins with teachers. Stephen Oladungoye, while speaking with Daily Post in Osogbo, urged the federal government and state government to recruit more qualified teachers into the teaching scheme because most schools were understaffed and teachers already engaged were underqualified. He said in most public schools, most subjects don't have teachers taking them. In most public schools, there is a dearth of teachers. There are not enough teachers taking some of these subjects. You find a situation where a teacher teaches more than 4 subjects in a school. Even at that, some of them are not qualified to teach these subjects. How will you explain how a teacher who is less qualified teaching physics and chemistry? These are subjects which need qualified teachers to take them. Moving on to the next story is coming from the foreign scene. The Ethiopian government has notified its embassies not to issue visas to Nigeria and Nigerians and 41 other Africans and South American countries on arrival in Ethiopia. This development, whose reasons was yet to be disclosed, was made known in the circular issued on Tuesday, October 4, 2022, to the country's embassy. It was learned that the frantic action has thrown doubt over the partnership between Nigeria and Ethiopia, as well as the African giant's rule of reciprocity with regards to both countries' bilateral air services agreement, BASA. The circular titled "No More Visa on Arrival for Nigerian Citizens" stated that the country must obtain visas from the Ethiopian embassy in Abuja before embarking on any trip. It reads, "Please be informed that effective immediate no more visa on arrival for Nigerian citizens, passengers are to obtain their visa at Ethiopian embassy in Abuja before traveling." And to the last story coming from sports. The head coach of the senior national team of Nigeria, Joseph Asuu, has already started plans for the senior national team of Nigeria international friendlies against Portugal. OnGoalNigeria.com can exclusively reveal. At first reported by OnGoalNigeria.com, the game will be played in November, just in time before Portugal get their World Cup campaign underway. The game has been confirmed by the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF. Asuu will use the same game to try out some new players, just like he did in the games against Algeria. This time around, some players who were part of the last game won't be considered for selection, but some will be given another chance. While the duo of Sergio Godwin and Rafael Onyedike will be given another chance, the same can't be said for Ebubeduru. The other new players handle a call-up for the game. The spot of Duru is expected to go to Fenerbahce defender Bright Osai Samuel. The right fullback comes highly recommended to the coach who wants competition for Olaino. We also gathered that he is now open to the idea of having Blackpool of England captain Marvin Epita, without over the availability of William Truss Ekong. Also, there will be a first-time call-up under Pesero for Udinese forward Isaac Success. He has been ever present for the team, who have made a strong start of the season in Italy. He fits the profile of the role behind the striker in the coach-favored 4-4-2 system. That concludes the world news from BGI TV this moment. Before we go, some major headlines. FG writes Governor Umahi accuses him of stealing World Bank donated relief funds. Buhari dragged to court over silent arrest, intimidation of Obi's supporters. We also brought to you Aisha Buhari admits Buhari suffered from PTSD after Biafra war. And finally, on sport, Pesero inks new 4 players for invitation ahead of Nigeria versus Portugal friendly coming up soon in November. For more updates on YouTube, our handle is Babagede Imo TV. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell, select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Ngige Adeboye. Please like and follow the page. On Instagram, Bagede Imo _22. For advert placement of your goods and services, coverage of events and function, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen for advert placement only. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rabila Lawal. Good evening.
Oh, na, na, na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV.